Hi, welcome to Astrobabble. I'm Donna from Donna B Astrology,
And I'm Linda from Scullywag Astrology.
and today we are going to be talking about the new moon in Virgo.
Excellent. And I'll just bring up the chart.
And while you are doing that, I will talk about the moon mansion. Is going to be the 14th moon mansion. We haven't had this lunation in the 14th moon mansion since we've been doing this that I know of. And I'm using the book from Christopher Warnock. And this moon mansion, the 14th one, is a very benefic one as it sits with the star Spica. And it is of the nature of Venus and Mars, which is nice. It gives you drive. The moon mansion is reflective of or has the energy of severance and breaking apart as well as dissolution. It also has healing energies, which is nice. It's good for sailing, it's good for friendships. It is not good for traveling on roads. So those are the things to be watching out for this for the next and in each moon mansion it's at the lunation of when they start. So and that energy will carry through for the next 2 weeks or the fortnight, the entire until another lunation happens. So that's why the moon mansions are important, is they carry through until the next lunation, because
Interesting.
the moon will go through all of the signs within a month, but um the ones that are at the lunation are the ones that are important and for
Yeah.
the moon mansion.
Interesting.
That's what I'm trying to say.
So, new moon in Virgo. So, Mercury is the ruler of this new moon. Excuse me. Um, yeah, and there's Mercury stationing, just about to station direct. I think it's the next day. Um, hmm. Saturn opposite it. Jupiter and Uranus, well, Uranus in particular is making a trine to that new moon. So it could be some sudden, surprising, uh, interesting things happening with this new moon. New moons tend to be about beginnings. So maybe events happen which kind of set you on a slightly different course than you thought you would be journeying along. Venus and Mars, which is interesting because you said this moon mansion was the nature of Venus and Mars, but Venus and Mars are straddling Virgo. We've got Venus in Leo and Mars in Libra. So the new moon can't be seen by either of them.
And Saturn by sign is directly across, so
Yeah, yeah. Interesting.
not that far away.
And as we were
Not a lot
saying,
of aspects this month.
no, no. Mind you, we had a lot of activity going on. We've had Venus was retrograde, it's stationed direct under the last lunation. And we've got we've got Mercury stationing direct soon. We've got Jupiter retrograde, we've got Saturn retrograde, Uranus retrograde, Pluto retrograde. Yeah. So is it only Venus and Mars that are direct at this moment too, with Mercury just about to go direct? Excuse me. So that's interesting too. Hmm.
And Venus has just recently come out of, we're taping this on September 11th, so Venus has just come out of um being retrograde. So it hasn't been that long. It's still in her shadow period. She's still in her shadow period.
Yes, yeah. I'm just looking at the speed. She's only traveling at 70, it's only traveling at 38.7% of her usual speed. So she's really slow. But they would have, Venus and Mars would have just had that sextile, which is nice. Bit of a sexy energy. So, particularly when you consider Venus retrograde, we had all that, a lot of reevaluation to do with relationships. So, yeah, might have been some nice makeups or coming together just prior to this new moon. So interesting. So new moons are about planting new seeds, new beginnings, new starts, new ideas. Yeah, so we're going to have a look at the horoscopes for the next 2 weeks for all the signs, and we recommend that you listen to your ascendant sign rather than your sun or your moon. But if you wish to listen to your sun or moon sign, we can't stop you. But there's a reason why we recommend that you listen to your ascendant sign. And if you're not sure why that's the case, we've done a video all about that, and we'll drop a link to that in the description.
So here we are with Virgo as if it is your rising sign. This will be reflective towards you, and this is about new beginnings with your personal habits, your personal what you want to improve on with just yourself. It has nothing to do with, or it might have very little, but it has more to do with you as opposed to other members of your family, like your children or your cousins or even your career. This has more to do with just yourself. So if you've been wanting to learn how to crochet, this would be a great time to start it. If it's also something that you're doing daily. So if you want to start a new habit, this is a good time to start that, as this is a good mansion to start healing. So it's a great it gives that good energy for starting new things that are just for you personally. You're the head of the ship, and your ascendant is what drives you. So this is a good time to start something new that you might want to see something come to fruition in about 6 months. So it's a great time for
Yeah,
starting something for you.
I'm just looking at that Saturn opposite in the seventh house of partnerships. Maybe it might not get off the ground as quickly as you like. Maybe there's something to do with a partner or a close friend that necessitates you kind of having to go slower. I'm just looking at that Mars in the second, maybe finances might be part of that as well. Because with Mars in the second, it does tend to burn a hole in your pocket, tend to burn through money quickly. And if you are a Leo ascendant, this new moon is in your second house. The second house is to do with our income, finances, income streams, and our personal finances and resources. So this could be new beginnings to do with income. This could be, a new income stream. This could be a bonus. This could be a new savings plan. We do have Saturn in the 8th house of shared finances and resources. Maybe you're, saving up with somebody else to, buy something, significant. Maybe could be going towards a mortgage or anything. But yeah, or maybe, with Saturn there, Saturn is a planet of no, maybe you were relying on somebody to kind of share resources, or were looking for a bank or something to kind of give you the money, and it wasn't as, you didn't get as much as you wanted or were hoping to get. And so it's like, oh, okay, well, going to have to do this on my own. Yeah, Mercury stationing in that second house too. This is quite possibly something that you've been thinking about over the last, say, 3-4 weeks, because Mercury's been retrograde in that house. Yeah, maybe it's time to put those thoughts into action.
And as you're saying that, Mercury is still in retrograde, or will be going through a shadow period for this donation. That new moon is opposing Neptune, and you were talking about money. Make sure you're looking at what you're not seeing, because that Neptune is strikingly opposing that new moon.
Yeah, yeah. And we've got that trine to Uranus. And even though trine's generally helpful, an easy aspect, it can be like, oh, guess what? You didn't factor this in. And yeah, like Donna said, Neptune, what am I not seeing? It can be deceptive, or sometimes it's just, very foggy. And in the 8th house, which is other people's money, but it's also places like banks and taxation and insurances and all that. You know, maybe don't count those chickens before they hatch.
And if Cancer is your rising, this new moon is going to be happening in your third house. Third house is early education. It is as well as the mercurial things of short travel and your own community. It is, it can also be your brothers and sisters. So this might have to do something with, something new with relating with those, whether it's starting to, get to your holiday in order so that like where holidays are going to be, how they're going to be handled would be a good thing to address right now. So anything that has to do with the third house issues of communication, your community, early education, speech even. And so with Mercury, be aware if you're a Cancer rising.
And if you are a Gemini ascendant, this new moon is happening in your 4th house. The 4th house is our parents, our home and living situation, real estate matters, homeland. It's a private house. So yeah, there may be new beginnings. This may have nothing to do with you. This may concern more your parents. Maybe they're starting something new. Or it could be, to do with your living situation. Maybe you've decided you're going to move out of where you are. You just start looking around now. Or it could be, something new for the house. Could be a new person coming in. Saturn in the 10th, you've got all this going on in the home or to do with real estate matters or living situation. But yeah, Saturn is a planet that requires discipline and not stability, but
Hard work.
yeah, but like just constant unrelenting kind of sticking to it. Mercury's opposite my Mercury at the moment, so I'm not at my best. Yeah, but yeah, there's a lot going on in that. Well, not a lot, but there's Saturn in the 10th house of career, but there's also Neptune there, so things are a little bit foggy too. So yeah, it's not going to be like, oh, okay, I've got to do this in the house, or my parents are doing this. It might be quite stressful because there's this career that's demanding attention from you as well.
And if you are a Taurus rising, this new moon is going to be happening in your 5th house. And the 5th house is you'll be starting new things either with your children, or you might be starting children, or it's also your house of creativity and or your house of hobbies, like concerts or um basketball, football, those kinds of events that you would go to. And yeah, so this would be starting new things with those. So if you have got those in your mind to start this, and you are a Taurus rising, this is probably why you are starting to like look at hobbies or look at events or things you can do for fun.
Nice house. And if you are an Aries ascendant, this new moon is happening in your 6th house. 6th house is associated with pets. It's also associated with illness and service to others. So this is often linked to those that serve the public. This might be doctors, nurses, emergency services. Could be somebody's going into a career that is somewhat focused on being of service to others. It could be getting a new pet. It could be something coming to light with an illness, or maybe, starting something as in like a regimen or a course of treatment related to, some illness. And particularly with that Mercury stationing, and Neptune opposite in the 12th house, maybe this is when it's like, oh, well, that's what it is, it could be, okay, now we know what the problem is. Now we can start doing something about it, treating it.
Very nice. And if you are a Pisces rising, this new moon is going to be happening in your seventh house. This is the house of the other person. And it could be a significant other, it could be a business partner, it could be even a hairdresser or a dentist. This is something that you are starting new with people that you have a one-on-one relationship with. So, yeah, this is a good time to start anything new with your one-on-one partners.
And if you are an Aquarius ascendant, this new moon is happening in your eighth house. The eighth house has to do with mortality, other people's money. So this can include things like inheritances, wills, loans, debts, financial agreements, taxes, insurances. So, yeah, this could be maybe you find out that, somebody's died and there's going to be, you're going to be a beneficiary. Maybe this is the start of that process, or maybe you're applying for a loan. Maybe you're being audited by the by the tax department, which I'm just looking at Saturn in the second. That wouldn't be very nice at all. Yeah. What else? Yeah, you could be going into business with somebody. If that's the case, with Neptune opposite, and even if you're just applying for a loan with the bank or something, particularly with that, the opposition to Neptune, but also Mercury stationing, it's just, yeah, double check everything. Make sure you fully understand what you're signing. Not that this is necessarily a evil or wicked, moon sign or anything, or new moon, but yeah, look, with those sort of conditions with this, yeah, it's not a bad idea at the best of times anyway. But with these conditions, it's really pays to make sure you know what you're doing, what you're signing.
Especially when the moon mansion, then the name of it is called the unarmed. So, and this is the whole purpose of doing this, is now you are armed to make sure that you are looking at those things. So
Yeah.
ties in very nicely with what you just said. And if you're a Capricorn rising, this new moon is going to be happening in your ninth house. The ninth house is the house of literature. It's the house of law and legal matters, as well as higher education, some esoteric subjects as well. So this would be starting anything new. If you wanted to get a reading by Linda, this would be a great time to give her a call and schedule one. It's all about those new beginnings. If you're a Capricorn rising, break out of your natural habit and go into something that might expand your view.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I'm thinking about doing some study. I'm a Capricorn ascendant, so that's what's happening for me. Yeah. It's quite interesting when you see it and different people with different ascendant signs. It's like, yep, that matches. And if you are a Sagittarius rising, this new moon is happening in your 10th house. So the 10th house is our career and public reputation. It's what we're known for. Yeah, so this is also the house of honors and recognition. It's fame and infamy. So there's new beginnings here, seeds being planted. This could be a new project at work. I would expect it's a significant project. It may actually, bring you some rewards or recognition further down the track, maybe at the full moon, which would be next year sometime, round about what? Late Feb, early March. But yeah, or this could be, you're planning something, maybe something that's going to bring you notice in some way is kind of germinating at this time, or is likely to be germinating at this time. It's also the house of authority figures. So this could be as simple as like a new boss, because, it is authority figures. But yeah, hopefully it's more to do with your career or public reputation. For whatever reason, people will be looking at you in about 6 months. But this might be when you actually start on whatever activity is going to bring you that notice or recognition or reward.
And if you are a Scorpio rising, this new moon is going to be happening in your 11th house. This house is the 11th house are it's associated with associations and groups. It's also associated with your hopes and dreams. So if you are a Scorpio rising and you have hopes and dreams of, just because it's hopes and dreams and it seems like it's not like a career or children, it hopes and dreams are kind of what drives you. So this would be a good time to start, anything, those things that you want to aspire to, or like I said earlier, it has, it's also the house of your associations and your groups, activities. So if you're starting anything with that as well, this would be a great time. This is why you're doing it. This isn't a good time to, I mean, it is a good time to do it, but this is why you're doing it, because
Yeah.
astrology tends to sneak up on you and work.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the 11th house, because the 11th house rises to the 10th, which sounds all back to front, but that's just how it goes. And yeah, this is where your benefactors are. These are people that can help you in the career. So, this could be a new mentor. So, like Donna said, there's, the houses have different significations and that, but like sometimes they tie in with other ones as well, so interesting. And if you are a Libra ascendant, this new moon is happening in your 12th house. 12th house is a difficult house. It's our undoing. So this can be bad habits, addictions, self-defeating habits. It's places of confinement, which can include prisons, hospitals, but it's also a place of retreat. So this may be just working behind the scenes or literally, going on a retreat somewhere, or being in exile. Once upon a time, being far away from home was a lot more challenging. These days, some of us can't wait to escape and visit new places. But yeah, so this could be just being overseas too. Excuse me. With that Neptune in the 6th of illness and new moon in the 12th, Mercury often to do with the mind, it's stationing, maybe there's, because while the 6th is illness, it tends to be physical illness, whereas the 12th is sometimes illnesses that we don't see. So this could be anxiety and that. So if that's something that's kind of happening, maybe your anxiety is ramped up a little bit more at the moment. Hopefully, that moon and sun are going to move past. Well, they're moving up towards that opposition with Neptune. It sounds really positive, doesn't it? But the sun, what's that? That's going to take about 6 days, 5 days. This might be a stressful week going into the new moon. But maybe this will be a case of like, it's so, you may find it's a time where you're kind of like, what? I've got this issue. I need to address it. And ultimately that could be helpful and healing. Donna was saying this moon mansion can be quite healing, so
Yes.
Just remember, if there is something, addiction, whatever, there should be help out there. There's people out there that do want to help, can help. And,
And with that opposing Neptune, this also could be a time, where you're going inwards to do some inward work that you might need to do to heal as well. So this is that Neptune provides that dreamy state. It provides more of a foggy or a distance, gives you some separation from reality, and that might be healing to do that, especially with Mercury going, doing that stationing, changing up its directions.
Yeah. And that Mercury is going to be very, very, very still at that time. you know, it's just about to come to a stop before it changes direction. And yeah, you know, this could be a good time for working behind the scenes, you know, particularly if it involves editing something. You know, Virgos tend to be really good at editing in general. They're very focused on details, and that retrograde period in general is good for anything that involves the prefix redo, recheck, re-edit, reapply. So yeah. But yeah,
Re-examine. Yeah.
maybe a bit of a stressful time, might be very nervy time, just, you know, amped up. Plus, you know, you've got that Uranus in your 8th house, which can be also anxiety and worry, trining that new moon. So this may be a little bit of a, not a very comfortable new moon for you, but I mean, 2 weeks, you can get through it. You know, it will pass.
The nice thing about the lunations is they do move fast.
Yes.
They're a little quicker.
Mhm. And Donna, what can you give us to help with all this? Stone wise.
If you paid attention to the last lunation that we did, I had a stone that created lucid dreaming. And if you don't want to do the lucid dreaming or need or to be relaxed, this is called Healer's Gold. It is part, you can see the black in it right here. Um, this is good for relaxation. It is the part of the earth element as well. This goes with all of your chakras. It has a Mohs hardness of like a 6 to 6.5. So it's pretty durable. It still has a cubic crystal structure. It is made of pyrite and magnetite. So um that's what gives it the black right there. That's the magnetite part of it. And this restores the magnetic and auric fields if they happen to get disrupted. And it has the ability to clear negative energies when used with other crystals. So if you have negative energies around that you don't want there, this is a good stone for that. And I use this probably in every one. I use it for not only does it have that grounding quality, which is really nice, but it also has that solar plexus kind of energy. So it gives a little bit of gentle boost. Like if there's a situation where something needs to get more flow or more energy to it, this is the stone that I use. And I use this a lot.
Mm.
It is one of my go-tos. It slips very nicely into my travel kit, and it goes with me on most everywhere.
Nice. And
It's a
you'll be
great stone. It's
writing
called
an article
Healer's
about
Gold.
that?
I will be writing an article about it, and I will snap pictures and
Nice. Very
get
good.
that up.
Well, let's have a look at the aspects coming up.
So our first aspect we have is Mercury will be moving, or will be stationing direct. It doesn't move direct because it's going in the same direction it always has been. It's just looking to us as it is appearing to station, and it will appear like it's going direct. It's more what I'm trying to say. So we'll be finally free from all snafus, and there won't be any ticket malfunctions. No, that's not correct, because that would be way too much. But there will be less of the snafus. There will be less of the things that make you readdress things. So This will be very positive to finally get this. It'll finally move. It's even though it's moving direct, it still has to cover all that ground that it did when it was stationing retrograde, when it was moving retrograde. It still has to cover all that, and that will happen. It will finally cover all that at the end of September. So September 29th is when it finally gets out of the shadow period.
What date, sorry?
September 29th.
Very nice. Yeah, interesting that it will be at 21 degrees Virgo, because that's where it's stationed retrograde, which is the degree that this new moon we're talking about is on. It's this new
Ooh.
moon, I think, has a lot to do with what was happening with this whole Mercury retrograde. I mean, not only is it the ruler of this new moon, but it's, it's just so, 21 degrees Virgo, for whatever reason, bang. It's, very significant because that's where it's stationed retrograde. That's where it said, oh, got to go back. Though, like Donna said, the planets aren't actually moving backwards. It just appears that way to us. But yeah, that's where the new moon is at 21 degrees. So should be interesting. But yes,
Mm.
sometimes you get through the Mercury retrograde and you think, oh, I'm safe. And then you kind of, that Mercury shadow period, retrograde shadow period comes and reminds you that, yeah, it's still kind of in effect, but hopefully not as much. So,
And then the next aspect is going to be the sun is going to trine Uranus. And this, whenever they're the planets in Uranus, whatever planet it is as aspect in Uranus, I always open or leave yourself open to shock, or something unusual happens, or something out of the ordinary may come up. So
yeah, it's a trine, but it is to an outer planet. So it might not be like, happy, good surprise. Hopefully it will be. But yeah, kind of sudden, unexpected developments. It could be something as simple as, you always go this way to work, but there's a, detour. So you kind of got to go a different route. But yeah, just, something different, kind of, not a bad time to kind of change things up a little bit, work with the energy if you can. If you usually have lunch at this place and it's shut, well, it's a good, good excuse to either brown bag it or to work, or check out a new place for lunch. The sun, which is making the aspect, is moves fast. So this is like day and a half, 2 days max that you're going to be feeling this energy. May make you feel a little bit nervy or kind of buzzy. Yeah, but it'll pass. Don't worry, keep moving. Actually,
yeah, and
that's
if your life has been going and moving, um, and everything's been working for you right along, chances are this is not going to be a very challenging aspect. But if by some chance you have not been paying attention to those taps on your shoulder going, hey, you need to look at this aspect of your life, or hey, this person needs your attention that's come into your life. They've come into your life for a reason. They're there because they're supposed to be there. You just haven't been paying attention. So sometimes those even though it's a trine is typically an easy aspect and a nice aspect, but if things haven't been working for you well, or you haven't been paying attention to what you should be doing, this could be more challenging than if you haven't been, or than if you have been paying attention. So just want to put that as a note.
mm. And if you know your natal chart, you can look and see, what houses are Taurus and Virgo, and that'll probably give you more of an indication of, what people and topics are likely to be mixed up in this aspect.
Yeah. As Uranus is meant to change us and to get us moving along. And the next aspect is Venus is going to square retrograde Jupiter. Ugh. Now Venus still isn't out of her shadow period either, so she's not, full of strength. She's moving at 44
Yeah,
percent of her speed. So
44.9. Yeah.
yeah, so she's not her full speed. And she's squaring Jupiter. Jupiter is asking for, for expanse, and Venus is looking for social aspects of the life to be addressed. So it's and they're both kind of hobbling along there. So I don't know how much this is going to be changing with the with both planets not as optimal as they could be, is what I'm trying to say. So it's still looking for goodness. This is, I mean, it is a square, so it's asking for tension. So something will need to be done.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I see
it's
Venus square
yeah, it's something that
Jupiter.
needs to be done. But yeah,
Yeah, I always think of a hangover. But too much of a good thing sometimes. They are the benefics. But Jupiter is retrograde, so maybe you're not as enthusiastic as you might usually be.
I like that with the overindulgences, because we were saying earlier with the new moon, and that Neptune kind of playing in there is overindulgence, and that could be playing. So if you're thinking about um overindulging with food or drink, obviously you shouldn't. But be careful, because that Neptune is definitely in there for this whole 2 weeks. And the Venus and Jupiter together, yes, they can help you with healing, and the tension does want you to do some activity. So if you're doing it in a positive way, that's good. But in a negative way, it could really wallop you upside the head.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, like with Jupiter, the negative or not so cheery. Jupiter can be a little bit condescending at times, can be a little bit judgmental. So that's another possibility too. Particularly with Jupiter being retrograde, maybe you're not this enthusiastic. Maybe you're kind of like, well, you know, something that you've previously enjoyed, and that you're kind of like, well, I'm not sure I'm into that anymore and want to do that. And, maybe that causes issues with social relationships, perhaps. But, I wouldn't say, certainly that's not going to be for everybody, but that's a possible manifestation, I imagine. But look, they're both benefics. It is a square, but I would think more than anything, it's kind of just going overboard a little bit, perhaps. But yeah, that Neptune
Yeah.
opposite that new moon, and that sun is coming up to oppose Neptune as well. So that could be problematic. We're not seeing ourselves clearly.
As you were saying earlier, with the Sun opposing Neptune, this is you can be sensitive to other things. This is
I'm just looking at that too. At the time of the exact Sun opposition to Neptune, we've got Moon in Scorpio, which is where it's in its fall, opposites that Jupiter. So that's interesting.
mm,
That Neptune's blurring the boundaries. We're not seeing ourselves clearly. And then that moon, which is not in a good state, is opposite Jupiter, which is, not at full capacity. It's retrograde. Could be a little bit tense and emotional for some people. What else have we got going on at the time?
call on
Yeah.
that Jupiter moon opposition with the Sun and Neptune, because the moon is in Scorpio. That screams of toxicity, just screams of it. So be very careful of that.
Yes. Okay. Yes. That sun's also coming up to a trine with Pluto. So interesting.
Oh, just Sun trine Pluto. It's good to Pluto gives the chance for that uh burning in the flames and regrouping and coming out the Phoenix. This is really good energy for the to push through those challenges that you've got that you're facing. If this is happening in houses where movement needs to happen, this is good energy to get through that transformational type of event that you need to get through with the sun giving you the boost of energy. It's really, it can be nice, but it on the other hand, trines and the easy aspects just mean they just happen without a lot of exertion on your part. And so, you want to make sure that you're not a victim if you're not being taken advantage of as well.
Yeah, Sun trine Pluto. For a lot of people, this will make you feel like you kind of got a bit of control, kind of like, you know what you're doing, kind of just feeling like you're in control of your life a little bit, particularly if we've just had Mercury retrograde, we've had Venus retrograde, things may have been a little bit chaotic. Maybe you're starting to feel a little bit more centered. If you do have planets around about 27 Capricorn or 27 Virgo, maybe for you, this might not be as good. If this is making personal contacts in your natal chart, this may be a little bit more troubling. Not troubling, but it may be a little bit more impactful, and it may not be as positive as, oh, I feel really good. And, but hopefully, sometimes you got to go through the rough stuff to actually get the rewards, or, if nothing else, you come out a little bit wiser. Yeah, it's a transformative planet, Pluto, but I mean, if you've got nothing around about those degrees, particularly of those two signs, it might be just like, yeah, you're feeling like you're kind of on top of things. I'm just looking at the chart, and we've got what we call a kite there. We've got Pluto at 27 Cap, we've got Neptune at 26 Pisces, so they're sextile, and then Uranus at 22 Taurus, so that's sextile to Neptune, and Uranus is making a trine to Pluto, so that's the top of the kite. And then both Pluto and Uranus are making a trine to the sun, so they're not exact by any degree, but they're close enough that they're showing up as a kite, which is a chart pattern, which we don't go into a lot, but you see it in the chart and you think, oh yes. And that just kind of allows all that energy to kind of flow around. We've also got that opposition to that Neptune from the sun, though, that has just passed. So it might be a very interesting time, particularly if any of those chart points are kind of close to something in your natal chart. It might be significant.
And then the sun is going to enter Libra, and that's going to welcome in all of the happy birthdays to our Libra viewers and listeners. This is your season, so you want to try to do things that are for you. If this is when you have your own personal energy. This is Libra, or the sun is going to be moving through your house. So this is a good time for you. Ushers and all that socialization that you've been wanting to do or wanting to start to do. Well, that was a weird word.
Yeah, so this is it's the autumnal equinox in the northern hemisphere. It's our spring equinox down here in the southern hemisphere. So this is the time of year where we've got equal amounts of light. The entry of the sun into Libra is synced to the equinox in tropical astrology, which is what me and Donna and a lot of Western astrologers study. So yeah, from this time forward, in the Northern Hemisphere, the days are going to start getting darker, whereas in the Southern Hemisphere, they will start to get lighter. So wherever the sun is, shines a light on that area of your chart. So wherever Libra is in your natal chart, you can expect to have more to do with the people and topics associated with that house. You also have Mars there, which Mars in Libra isn't a very strong sign for it, but so there could be a lot of activity generally just in there as well, because Mars is very active. Could be some fights and all that as well, arguments. But yeah, look, you can use that Mars physically, energetically, try and do something to do with those house topics or those people, get out, be active, find a way to channel that.
Very nice. Yeah. Get out the use that energy, because Mars is wanting you to do something. So use
Yeah.
it positively, go for a walk as opposed to, picking a fight. So, and then the next aspect is going to be Mercury is going to trine retrograde Jupiter. And Mercury itself, as we have said earlier, is getting out of its retrograde period. So it is moving at wow, it is going really, really fast. 132.
Yeah. Well, it would have been
Reading it.
direct for about 10 days by this time. So, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be getting out of its shadow period 4 days from now. So it's going to be moving fast. So all those issues that you were going through are superly flying by really, really fast. But anyways, with the Mercury trine retrograde Jupiter, this is a good time for like the big talks, the talks that you need to have. This is also very good for commerce and or anything business. So this is a good aspect for those issues.
Yeah, Mercury's still in Virgo, so it's a sign of its domicile and exaltation. So it's in a house that it can do what it wants very effectively. It's very detail orientated in this sign. It is what we say out from under the beams. It's not within 15 degrees of the sun. It is going to get, well, probably within a couple of days, be under the beams of the sun where it can't be seen. So this might be like a really good time to strike. It's out from being retrograde. It's moving quite fast. It's moving direct. It's in a sign where it's, in a very good position to do what it wants. But maybe, strike while the iron's hot before it goes under under the beams of the sun where it can't be seen. Though, having said that Jupiter is retrograde. Maybe great ideas, maybe you can't get people to kind of get excited about them though. So maybe when it does go under the beams, which let's have a quick look and see, I reckon maybe a couple of days. What's that? 13. Oh, okay. What's that? 11. 10, 8, 7, around about the 30th of September, which is interesting because that's more or less just as it's coming out of that retrograde shadow period, it will be going under the beams. So even though it's under the beams, good time maybe to kind of work behind the scenes, and it will come up for its cazimi with the sun. So yeah, maybe there's this spark though at this time. Like I said, it's in quite a good position up until about, what did I say, the 29th or something, or the 30th, before it goes under the beams. Maybe really good time. Yeah, jump on it maybe while it's happening. But that Jupiter is retrograde. Sometimes you can dream too big and kind of bite off more than you can chew, which is, I would kind of expect that with a square to Jupiter. but this is a trine. It's just maybe the fact that it's retrograde. It's kind of a case of there's also the opposite problem, not striking while the iron's hot. So maybe, maybe putting yourself out there a little bit more and kind of, I'm not saying take stupid chances or anything, but maybe if it's not going to cost you anything, but putting yourself out there a little bit more than you're perhaps comfortable with, maybe it's worth doing. I just think that's
I like that.
that Mercury is just in a really good position for a few days there. And it's going to come up, and it will be really interesting. It's going to come up and trine that Uranus, which is that unusual, innovative idea. So interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah, because as soon as it gets out of its shadow period, it's going to go right under the beams, and it only gives you like 1 or 2 days, maybe tops, where it's not really affected by that, by the sun. So you don't
And
have a lot of time, but you do have some
yeah.
to jump on, you know, that good energy. I like
And
that.
then we have the full moon in Aries at 6 degrees of Aries. So where is Mars? Mars is opposite with the south node. Interesting. So when is this? This is the 29th of September. And then going into October, we're coming up for our eclipses, but not till the 14th and the 28th. But
Yeah.
okay, and they will be Oh, interesting. That Mars is going to be at the degree, it's going to be at 21 Libra, which is where the solar eclipse of the 14th of October is going to be. So that will be interesting.
Oh,
Because that Mars is also ruling this full moon. Saturn can't see this full moon, which is nice, but either can Jupiter, unfortunately.
right. Yeah.
But Venus can. That's nice. Making a trine by sign. Mercury can't, though. Yeah, that Mercury will be coming up to very close to trining that Uranus, and a fair distance away, but coming up to trining Pluto as well. I kind of get impression of like there's lots of things going on, but they're not all connected. They're just happening in all different places.
Yeah. It's almost like they're kind of like playing around with setting up to like, hey, I will talk to you, at some point. Yeah.
Oh, look, and Venus will be square Uranus at that time. That will be very interesting for our Aries and Libra people or ascendants, because the new moon or the full moon will be happening over their first and seventh house. So to do with themselves and their autonomy versus how they are in relationships, because that Venus square Uranus is going to be perhaps a shift or a bit of a shake-up of some relationships. Very interesting. Well, we'll find all out about that at the end of September.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Linda, what are you doing? What services do you offer? And where can people get a hold of you?
I'm at Scullywag Astrology. That's astrology.scullywag.com. I offer natal readings, year ahead readings, and relationship readings.
Very nice.
And Donna, where can
Very
people
nice.
find you, and what services are you offering?
I do as well natal readings, year ahead readings, horary readings, electional. I am also doing rectification and medical readings. So if you have any of those, I also do energy healing or energy
I
work.
like that. It
So
was like, oh, also this. Yeah.
I know. Well, you know what? A lot of people, I say it a lot, and well, it just it people don't really understand what exactly that does. So come on to my website and give it a look
Yeah.
and see if that's something that could help you. And we not only visiting my website, but please share, like, and subscribe to our channel. It helps us get the word out of what we're trying to do. So we appreciate you viewing, you're watching, and definitely appreciate your comments as well.
And if you're listening on podcast, if you consider rating us or leaving a review, that would be fantastic. So thank you for listening. We hope that the new moon is very good for you, and we'll talk to you next time. Or talk to you.
Thank you.
Ciao.